Hi, everybody. It's me, Matt, the host of the Shits and Giggles Show. Are you guys enjoying your Christmas vacation? I know I am. This is going to be part 2 of the Dad's Show. As proof to how much fun we had, we got extra tape, so gave me an extra week off. Anyway, I hope you have a good time during your holidays. And I don't know, what am I supposed to say in this? Really, honestly. We miss you. I can't watch you watching the show. Did I miss doing the show? Not really. That's why I'm taking a vacation. So really, I'm just here bullshitting, talking for no reason, wasting everybody's time when you're trying to watch the show. So anyway, Merry Christmas from the Shits and Giggles family, which is pretty much just me, Brian, Keith, and Nige, I guess. Anyway, bye.
To school.
Jessica, those are always Jessica's. She loved her stories. Dad was walking in the snow for a mile with no shoes.
In the Bay Area, all that snow.
Yeah.
But when you look at how did things change, so here's this crop of kids coming up that grew up in luxury their parents could never dream of.
Yeah.
I mean, you think those guys that came back from World War II into houses. You look at that whole peninsula area, and like San Mateo, all those homes that got built, those were all vets moved in there.
The village and all that.
And they grew up, the kids were growing up with more freedom and more luxury than their parents ever dreamed of. And their parents were proud of that they could do that for their kids. But too many, not all, but too many kids didn't have to scramble and work hard and sacrifice to have anything. So therefore, they didn't value it as much.
That's the same thing now. I mean, every generation, I think, has done that from the beginning. I want my family to have more than what, and every generation has done that.
Yeah.
You always it's always stepped up, and you've always made things better.
Well, and that's the funny thing, because they try to tear down the principles of America. Oh, America, it was never built on anything that great. America was never that great. We take, or I don't want to say we because I don't, but many Americans take that for granted, that their kids will grow up in a better place than they were. That's a very American thing. When you look at Europe, people are born still into the caste system, where if your dad was a cobbler, you're going to be a cobbler, and that's just the way it is. And Americans, I think, at this point, we're spoiled.
What?
That thing, you could be whatever you want, is a very American thing, and a great thing about America, but it is also to our detriment because we get soft. We take it for granted.
Well, but I think that's going away, though, because the left is trying to move us into like you say,
a caste
system, and they're trying to move us back towards Europe. Yeah. And I mean, at what point? I mean, we didn't want that.
Well,
I never had a negative. I mean, you talk about growing up in a nice place. I lived in an attic in our house, and there was no, the rafters were out there and everything, and we had a floor that we lived in an old house. It was like a 7 kids in a 400 square foot or 500 square foot house, and we lived
living right there, buddy.
That's living up. We lived upstairs in a
close-knit family
in an attic. Yeah. 4 of us boys lived up there, and my mom, who was a little heavy, never got up there. So you can imagine what it was smelling like up there sometimes. But and a window breaks, you just put the board over it. You know what?
They peed out the window off the roof. And,
why does the roof smell like this?
Yeah, that in cold weather especially, it was kind of funny. We had a door that went into the attic because our steps were outside, so we'd go up the step outside, and it would go over a lean-to that was over the kitchen. Well, in the cold weather, you didn't want to go downstairs and go to the bathroom, so you peed out on this metal roof, and it went down and rolled down and stopped, dripped right in front of Mom's house. And but we only did
pea-sickles.
Yeah. But we only did it in cold weather, because in hot weather it would really smell bad.
Yeah. It rained. It was okay. It washed down. Yeah.
But anyway, and living like that, I looked around me in our area up there, and nobody else was living much better than that. So it was normal to me, and I always felt I was living in the greatest country in the world, greatest state in the world, the greatest thing in the world. Okay, what are we gonna do about California, guys?
Yeah.
You know,
I bought
mean,
property in Washington, Tacoma.
I'm
it's
ready to
not-
go to
it's-
Montana.
It's not any better though up there.
Well, they're about 5 years behind us.
Yeah. So
But they're
you got to move in 5 years.
they're schizophrenic like California.
Yeah.
Half of Washington's very conservative.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And it's the Seattle area
It's
that
the
drives everything.
Yeah.
it's the cities. It's the
And-
cities.
It's what democracy looks like.
Yeah,
It really is.
It looks
It
like
really
a
is.
nightmare.
You follow what's going on in South Africa?
Yeah.
There was a thing today. Their parliament just said that no, we can take property from white farmers
That's
without
been going. Yeah, that's
compensation.
been going on for about
Yeah.
6-8 months now.
Yeah.
Or
So-
about a year.
So they made it official, and so I mean, there's going to be a white genocide going on in South Africa.
Go on YouTube. Watch Farmland. If you want to see what's actually going on.
Yeah, there's
watch Farmland.
Is there a
It's
show,
about
Farmland?
an hour and a half long, and it'll disturb you.
Yeah.
It's very, very disturbing.
Well, I just want to know. We're talking about South Africa and all that, but
Yeah.
where do you think the best place to start the revolution in California is? The
North.
We're not
Do you
calling
take
for
highway-
armed insurrection.
Do you take Highway 50 first, and then start and block the
Yeah,
Well-
you cut the state in half with Highway 80,
yeah?
and everything north of Highway 80 is the free land,
North, okay.
and then work our way south.
You gotta hope for a. The only thing you can hope for in California is a giant earthquake.
Well, let's talk about this.
I'm
though.
sorry, but that's all you.
As a patriot, if California,
You might have to carefully
if California, like the legislature has threatened once in a while, has decided to withdraw from the union, what will we do as patriots?
You know what? I've been having this conversation with Nigel, who's on the show a lot, and he's of the opinion, which actually scares me. It's like, do Americans still have the spirit of 1776? Are American military-age males? And my contention is yes, there are. Because if you look at the American Revolution, what 3% of the population took up arms against the British. That's not, and that's where you get the 3%.
Well, let's look at it from the legal standpoint first, because as you remember, I used to be an attorney.
Yeah.
My question is legally.
Recovering, are you? Or
Yes. Legally speaking, do we have a right, as a citizens of the United States, to rebel against California when California is taking our constitutional rights away?
I would think so. What scares me is, would the establishment in Washington back us?
No.
And I would
right
say they
now,
would.
as of no, I would say I think the president might,
The president would.
but the
I
Congress
think
won't.
most of the members of the military would.
what is a sad comment on our time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you're seeing,
representatives. The people's representatives won't back them in anything.
Ami Berra is going to say, "Yeah, I'm
No,
backing the people of
and,
Sacramento."
unless
this is why the thing I said, term limits.
yeah.
This needs to be. We can fix. We can still fix this country just by, I think, implementing term limits. You implement term limits, it gets these people out.
It's a good start.
That's a big start, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you're never going to get it though, because these guys have to vote it in themselves.
Well, yeah, and in California, the way with the jungle primary, the way it's set up, it's the
California's
Democrats
bad.
are going to win. Harvard ballot harvesting, all the other crap going on here. It's not going to be in the ballot box.
Yeah,
It's not the ballot box unless, and we felt that way when Prop 13 came in. There was a sense of hopelessness, just like there is now, not as magnified. But the people stood up, and that could not be defeated. Unless something like that were to come up now, I don't know what it would be. But I don't see the ballot box saving
I
us.
think Gavin is going to drive this country or this state. It's going to tear this state apart. He is going, because he said, "I'm not going to govern like Brown." And Brown, his governing was terrible, but at least you kind of know even on Second Amendment stuff, Brown was somewhat
traditionalist.
traditional.
little
Yeah,
bit.
I mean, to a point.
Until
He
the
was,
end.
he was a hunter at least, and he knew that he was an attorney, and he knew that there's some wars you just can't win against. But Gavin Newsom's not going to do that. He's going to tear. He's if he gets his way,
He's going to push.
Yeah, no. If he gets his way here in the state of California, he's going to run the state.
He will.
That's the one thing where I was talking about last week is like, wow, does the French male have more balls than the Californian male? Because what we're seeing in France right now is actually blowing my mind. These are the people that are known for surrendering.
Well, but they have a revolution every 10 years in France.
Yeah, and they get pretty bad. They cut people's heads off, man.
Well, in the old days.
Yeah.
So are you
out the
calling for
guillotine.
the decapitation of people?
It's kind of curious from an attorney standpoint as to what it reminds me. I watched Patriot again a couple of weeks ago, and Brian, you watched it with us.
Yep.
Yeah, and you imagine yourself in that situation. You're living in an area that is controlled by one government, and you're saying to yourself, we can't live under this situation. We got to stand up. And there are people in the area that are saying, no,
Right.
you got to stay with the king. And it's the same situation we got here now. We've got a government in California that is actually imposing itself and taking away our constitutional rights, as we understand them, at least, and is taking them from us. At what point do we as Americans have to stand up on a legal basis, at least, and say, you can't do this?
Right.
Problem is, the legal basis is really, the courts are so stacked that you can't do anything.
That's the one important thing about the Trump administration.
Yeah, he is stacked. He is.
But that's, Chris, that's what I think one of the most important things that written in the Declaration of Independence is right at the end, is that in this, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. At some point, it's not about the law anymore. And that's a frightening thing. Is it really, you're pushing us to that point where it's now about our lives, our fortunes, and sacred honor, that we're willing to risk this, or at least we're having this conversation on a podcast. This is
openly available to the public.
Yeah. And
Well,
it's frightening. We're just like four old guys sitting around the table.
Well, when you get a representative of the government,
two old guys.
when you get a representative of the government that threatens to nuke their people if they do not give up their guns,
if they don't give up their arms.
And when you do that, this is exactly the thing that the Second Amendment was written.
Let me
for.
make this really clear. None of us are openly advocating the armed revolution of California, but it's worth discussing. Particularly to me, I'm inspired by what's going on in France.
There was a woman that Levine interviewed a woman last week. She's a professor from the schools, but she's been professing for some time now that the schools, the universities have taken it. And she actually came out and said, I think there's one of two things are going to happen. We're going to succumb to socialism in this country, or there's going to be a revolution, and we're going to have a civil war.
I really see this happening.
If
you see what's going on in Seattle, so what was it last weekend? Now Antifa is rolling around with AR-15s.
Yeah,
and they're stopping people from walking down sidewalks, and it's like
we know how this ends.
Right, and so if the far left is
starting to arm themselves,
we need to pay attention to this.
Yeah, the one of the greatest things that we have going for our side is they have absolutely no idea how armed to the teeth our side is, and that what they have going for them is that we are conservative people. We're not. I don't wish harm on anybody. I don't want to take anything from anybody. We want to be left alone. That really, if you had to sum up my politics, is leave me alone.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly my.
That's libertarian, really.
Yeah, just leave us alone. Let us
But Chris,
do what we're going to do.
you mentioned, would we do anything, and legally at courts and whatever? We got hosed back in the 60s. This is esoteric, but look it up, folks. A court ruling by the Supreme Court, Reynolds versus Sims, which said that states like California, with 2 houses in their legislature, that were modeled after the U.S. government, a Senate and a House, were unconstitutional. That Senate districts had to be population-based. They made that ruling. That screwed up California, New York State, Washington State, Oregon, and what it did is we're no longer a republic. We are a democracy.
In the States.
In
the States, we are. But that's the breeding ground for who goes to Washington, right?
Right.
So if you play the long game, that decision has really screwed things.
Yeah.
That's why California is so screwed up.
That decision,
Washington State, New York State, Illinois, you name the state. The population centers drive everything. The political machines know how to work the deal in the population centers. So we're screwed.
It's you have Reynolds versus Sims, and then step 2 is now serious talk about removing the electoral college.
Exactly.
That's step 2. Now all that's left is New York, not even New York City,
right.
Yeah.
and the big cities in California deciding everything for the entire country.
That's exactly right.
So that court case that you were talking about, that one was like they forced 30 something states to rewrite their constitutions. Right?
Yeah. I don't know, and I would love to do more research and be more specific, but there's a case preceded that allowed the Supreme Court to intervene in states' legislative decisions. And forgive me, I don't know the name of the case. I should have brought it, but I wasn't thinking about it.
I'm an attorney, and I don't know the name of
well,
it. So.
but you have to do some. It's a complicated field.
Yeah, right.
But really, this is set up so like California would not be lost. I think we had like 40 senatorial districts, but they were like, some of them were
they counties?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Not just counties, but it would be like Siskiyou and Plumas was a district.
Yeah.
Very rural. And the case was, well, how could they have a senator with 100,000 people when Los Angeles County has 5 million
Right.
people? You had one man, one vote. Yeah, it's all fair. Every vote should count, blah, blah, blah. Kiss my ass. So here we are. Here we are. No, really, literally, it's tyranny. The tyranny of the majority. This guy knew something about tyranny.
Yep.
Frederick Douglass. Look him up.
Yep.
So they were talking about redoing the state, the way the Senate is in California, when they were talking about breaking up the state. At one point I was reading an article on it, and they were talking about how if they were doing it the correct way, you would have like over 1,000 senators in the state, just for the state Senate.
That was
What was that? I'm trying to remember what that was.
What's going on? That was a lawsuit brought by the state of Jefferson people.
That's right.
And what they wanted to do is bring a case that essentially would force California into. I think it's like you have to have a senator for a certain amount of people.
Right.
And it would force California to build the Senate to a point where it was like untenable. You can't do it.
And that was going to cause.
And that would make the Supreme Court say, no, the best way to fix this is to break you up.
Break the state up. That's what it was.
And that was weird because we had Prop 9 this year, which I've never seen this. They brought up to split up the state. Right. Now you can agree or disagree on how they wanted to split up the state. That's neither here or there. But I found it weird that the Supreme Court, we have a constitutional amendment that says that we're allowed to bring up, propositions. Mm-hmm. But yet the state Supreme Court said this is such an important decision that we decided that it can't be on the ballot. Well, are you going to have propositions? Are you going to have a democracy or not? So essentially what the state of California has shown, we're going to allow you to have play democracy until it doesn't work out into our favor anymore.
Right.
And the fact that they did that just shows we don't live in even a democracy in California. This is a tyranny.
And Chris, go back to the original. Who's going to step up and do something about California? I don't know that it can be. I'm normally I'm a huge optimist, but I don't know. And unless the feds, the Civil Rights Division, open up voting rights or does something about the vote and all the irregularities, and kick the illegals the hell out of here, we're doomed.
Yeah, I
doomed.
think you're right. I think the only way is if California decided they wanted to try and secede from and then the federal government comes in and removes the actual government of California. That's the only way. And then you have to have to remove the illegals out of the state, though. You got to make sure these people cannot vote.
Yeah.
And they are voting. As much as the Democrats say that they're not voting, these people are voting. You cannot have these congressmen win the vote, the day of the vote, and the mail-in ballot, and then harvest votes to not allow them to win. Then, I mean, you can't. That doesn't happen.
There's zero faith in California's voting system anymore, and that's a dangerous thing. When people don't believe in the ballot box anymore, you're in a dangerous territory. This is a new territory for us, in the American experience.
I can't believe that this country ever came to this point. And it's like soapbox, ballot box, ammo box, and man, it's scary.
Yeah.
It's frightening. It's literally frightening.
Well, this is why I was bringing up the legal aspect of it. Let's say you had a group of people that said, let's do what we are supposed to do under the Second Amendment, protect ourselves and protect our constitutional rights by taking out the state, or at least revolting against the state. Now there's constitutional, or there's legal precedent. I mean, there's not legal precedent. There's legal. There's laws against what would they call sedition and such against local states too. That's part of the, and so you got this thing we think this Second Amendment is about, but at the same time, is it if you only succeed?
Is it?
No, well, I think it's the only way that works. You have to get support from the federal government. If you can't get the support from the federal government, then you're not.
At least
you're an armed insurrection, and you're done.
And you're going to be put down.
I think, like you said, California said we're going to secede.
Right. I think that gives us a fair.
The federal government, but what's shameful, at least half of the government would say, no, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the Democratic Party would want to step in and upend California?
Well, at that point,
No.
we're as landowners in the state of California, we're now fighting for our own country, because you're gonna now force me out of the country that I was born into and tell me I have to live in this fucking shithole. No, I don't think so.
For those of you
Excuse my
watching
language.
this, we're not into heavy drinking and a late night Art Bell type thing here. No, we're not into that.
all-
This is
Just come and live in
freewheeling.
California, and you can see exactly what we're talking about.
Well, I'm talking more about legal theory here, and how we had the Civil War. It was the same issues that we're talking about today, and the federal government had to actually arm up and come in and take a state out. You think they do that today? I don't think so.
Well, that's one thing I'm hopeful for, because you can feel the left speeding things up. They're speeding up to an ultimate end. And the one thing that you can almost guarantee is that they will almost every time overstep their bounds.
Yeah, they usually self-destruct.
And what I'm hoping is really for here, any hope for California is that they overstep their bounds. Like, no, we're so great, we're going to be our own country. And assuming you have the right president in place, that'd be a good thing. Because if you have Donald Trump, you do have your second Civil War, or at least the same premise. You have the federal government keeping the Union together by force.
I think we're actually in a cold Civil War now. Obviously, and so the question becomes, if it gets hot, who?
What would happen?
Yeah, John Brown, we might think was on the right side of history, but he got hung because he wasn't on the right side at the right moment, right?
That's why I jokingly told my dad. I said, what we need to do is we'll just send anybody that's over the age of 70 and it's cannon fodder. You guys are going to take you guys are going to take the brunt of this one.
It's funny. I've often thought at my stage in life, if I was diagnosed with something that gave me 8 months to live, somebody going down with me, man. Like the Nazi that wants to take. Oh, speaking of which, Swalwell, you mentioned him. Anybody out there is good at Photoshop? He'd be great in a Nazi SS uniform.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to buy Photoshop and do it myself, but then I'm thinking, no, I don't want to learn how to use this.
GIMP. Free.
Don't call me a gimp.
No, free software.
Oh.
GIMP. Just download it free, and you can learn to use it. It's a free software. You don't have to pay the $500 for it.
I could see him in a black SS uniform. And then print copies of that and get it all over his district.
Yep.
Well, at least his district's close. We can go to San Jose.
It's funny. Some of the allies that we think that we've had politically, I'm starting to question. Like when you watch this thing that's going on in France. If I wasn't paying attention to alternative media, I watch one channel out of Canada. I watch what is it called? The Rebel.
Yeah.
They're on the ground in France. Because if I've been watching Fox News, there's nothing.
They don't cover it.
They don't cover it.
It's turning a little bit. Fox
No,
News.
They're starting to show it now.
The Fox News got taken over by the Suns, right?
Right.
And the Suns are the product of the university system.
Yeah.
So they're going to turn.
Yeah.
No, one thing I'm glad is the younger generation doesn't watch television anymore.
That's true.
They don't. So it's like that's why I try to funnel people through this, and that's why we do this, even though we have a low subscribers right now. But Breitbart, I don't go to any of the if I see CNN on everything, I won't bother.
No.
Actually, any of the big four networks, if you include Fox.
So who you think is going to go next on Fox? You think it's going to be Tucker's going to be bombed out of there at some point?
You know, it's funny because Tucker, he kind of turned on Trump this week. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, I read that, and I saw that too. That you read the whole article, and everything else. He's not against Trump.
No.
He's saying Trump didn't get things done. Well,
Right.
yeah, but when you start to peel back the onion and look at why haven't things been done?
Yeah, he's been
Congress and rhinos.
right.
But it's not. He's right on the issues.
Paul
So-
Ryan.
Yeah, Paul
No,
Ryan.
and
exactly.
Tucker has been on Paul Ryan from. He's
From
been
day
calling
one.
Paul Ryan out.
Yeah.
Because Paul Ryan's the one that's causing this.
There's-
it's just pisses me off because that's another person I supported.
Yeah.
And he just. God, he's pissed me
As
off.
far as I'm concerned, Fox News will never have legitimacy as long as they still have Shepard Smith on.
Oh, my God,
Because
yeah.
at noon,
Yeah.
they must watch their ratings dive.
Well,
They
luckily,
have to.
luckily,
At
I get up at about 11:30 in the morning.
Truly retired.
Truly retired. I get up at 11:30, and of course I go in and have my 2 waffles, and Brian's going to show up pretty soon, and then Shepard Smith comes on, and I go, I can't listen to this guy, so I go back on my thing, and I go back and listen to Outnumbered or something like that during his hour.
Where are you getting most of your reading news?
Lucian.com, Drudge Report, WorldNet Daily Town Hall. Is mainly where I get where I do most of the reading.
right.
And you get stuff from all over the place. I will pick up occasionally stuff off of Facebook, something somebody posted.
I hate reading the Huffington Post, but I do read it.
Really?
Yeah, because you got to. I find doing what Crowder says. This is one thing I listen.
You guys
It's
actually
you
read?
you have to read
That's
it.
it.
Dude, it's so hard to read
Yeah.
because you read it and you're just like, oh my god.
The only
I just
reading
wanna
I do
reach through there and grab the person who wrote this and just strangle them.
Yeah.
It's like, what is wrong with you?
The only reading I do is science fiction about between 12 midnight and 3 in the morning. I read science fiction books. They're $2 novels from Kindle.
Now I know where you get it from.
So now I've been using this thing. It's an app called Smart News.
Okay, I heard about that.
And so it gives you, it seems to be pretty good. it does lean a little more to like CNN and Huffington Post and stuff like that. But then I use the Drudge Report also to do that, because you got to get multiple places. You got to look at this stuff.
I've pretty much made up my mind that I don't need to hear any of the, like, people say an open mind is a great thing. To me, an open mind is a giant shit funnel to bring in all the garbage in the world. I like to have a very narrow mind.
Yeah.
And it's honed to a fine edge. So really it's,
okay. So
I read what I want to read.
What about, what's his name? Not O'Reilly, but the other, Hannity. To me, he's one-dimensional. Same thing every night.
It is the same thing every night. He beats a drum.
At some point, his monologue is going to go from the beginning of his show to the end of his show.
Yeah.
And then I'm just waiting for that.
I like him, but to me, I see him. It's Rush wannabe.
Yeah.
That's it, and there's nothing new, not much new on the show.
Well, I mean,
but you notice like this alternative media, MSNBC, CNN, and all that. If it wasn't for Fox News and some of the like Laura Ingraham and stuff, you would never know what was on that. Nobody watches them.
Yeah.
So they're promoting all.
Yeah, they're promoting MSNBC and then CNN. I would never know anything that happened on MSNBC.
My theory is,
who the hell's Don Lemon?
Stop reporting on the church that put baby Jesus in a cage. If you don't report on that,
nobody knows.
Nobody knows about it. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because the left isn't going to report on it. It's baby Jesus. They don't want to do that. They're not going to report on it. So it's like, that's my theory. Stop reporting on stupid shit like this, and we won't get the anger that, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah, and the other thing, like this guy, Kevin, the black guy that was supposed to be the host on the Academy Awards.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart. Yeah, they kicked him off of that because of something he tweeted 5 or 6 years.
10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, you know what? And then he apologized. No,
stop apologizing.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna see the Me Too movement explode here pretty soon to nothingness. Yeah. You know how women cannot get along for so long together, right? So they eat their own. This is going to happen soon. You're starting to see it more and more.
You misogynist.
Yeah.
Do you hate women?
Pretty much.
You've seen it happen with Joan, whatever, Behar and Megan McCain.
Megan McCain, Joy Behar. They are going at each other. You
Thing
have
of beauty.
That first Me Too movement girl. I can't remember what her name is.
She's busted for rape.
She's admitted to that. Plus, and then somebody that there's another girl that has been supporting somebody that actually raped somebody, and they're starting to eat their own.
Yeah.
So this is going from what you were saying.
That's why I do like the new conservatism, being that it's okay that we didn't live clean lives.
Right.
It's going forward, we want to live a normal traditional life, and we're not claiming to be lily white. Where when you see liberalism, it's a very holier than thou movement, and it doesn't take much to take the tarnish off, and you see, oh no, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You can look into anybody's browser history and realize that they're not perfect.
It's a lot like the Scarlet Letter. Remember that? Remember the Scarlet Letter?
Yeah.
You got to wear what is it? What letter would it be for this?
A for adultery.
That was in the Scarlet Letter. But
could be A for asshole, but
one of these days I'll read a book and be able to say I read it.
Misogynist, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's funny too when I was talking to Christina, and I talked about it last week. It only goes so far, because they're pushing this. They want beta males out and take masculinity out. But when you look at what women really want, no Navy SEAL ever had a hard time getting laid. Or bodybuilder, or you know what I mean? Women like masculine men. And
firemen.
That's where it's okay. You could try to get laid at a feminist rally, or you could just go to the gym.
I got something for you to look at, and we'll look. Maybe you'll put it in right here.
Yeah,
it's a video that I put together. 3 advertising things from the 60s and 3 from now, showing the decline of the American male. And there's in the one there's a Marlboro commercial and a couple other ones like that, And then the latest ones are the insurance ones where the guys are dopes and they
It's
don't know.
always
Yeah.
the guy the house gets broken into, and the guy
So
and the wife's on the phone. How did this happen?
Or the guy throws his wallet in the
Yeah. That was dumb. Yeah.
so in the 30s, 40s, 50s, immigration slowed down, right?
Almost to nothing.
It's almost to nothing, right? We got the 60s, which was the movement in the 60s, and we needed to start immigrating because we weren't having enough children, I guess, at that point.
That's their excuse.
That's the excuse. So, but so what we've done now, though, is we've demasculated men, and we've broken up the family now, and we're not having children anymore. So now we're having to bring. We're going to end up like Japan. Japan has got what, 30 years, 40 years before. I mean, they're already in a decline.
Yeah.
Their population is actually dropping because they are not having enough children, and in Japan doesn't allow. I mean, immigration in Japan is very difficult.
Isn't that weird that the first world nations, and this goes back all the way to Greece, they had that problem. Once you get to a level of success, people, I guess it's a selfishness, or, well, like you grew up on a dairy. Your parents needed to have 8 kids because cows needed to be milked.
They need to be fed, yeah.
and we fought it all the way. We didn't want anything to do
It's
with
just
it.
weird that is a cycle that happens. There's
Yeah.
a certain level of success, and the population dies down. And also, too, it's just you see it with we're just a very selfish. We've become selfish.
Well, the one thing about immigration, and this is going to go a little counter to what everybody is talking about, those people, that society that we're having a lot of immigration from, they're actually a lot more conservative than the general population of this country. Now, they're taking advantage of the general population of this country by moving up here and getting all the freebies they get, but these people are.
Yeah, they're Catholics.
90% of them are Catholics, and they have a good conservative base,
Family
and a
oriented.
good family orientation.
But
Willing to work.
But they would vote Democrat. That's the problem.
Well,
if
yeah.
they could.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that would
You
go
know,
that
yeah,
way all the way.
because when you look at the Trump's election, the 2016 election, they were actually shocked at how many Hispanics voted for Trump.
yeah.
Because politics doesn't trump everything. I hate to say trump everything, but I think they would like it to. But when it comes to especially values, people are going to vote their values. And so, yeah, you may have come from Guatemala and let's say a legal Guatemalan came over here. They're going to vote for the conservative, at least within the first generation. And if you find anybody that came here during the Cold War, they almost exclusively vote for Republicans because they know exactly what happened under the Soviets. And that's another problem is with the millennials. You see a big push for socialism and Che Guevara and all that stuff. You don't understand how horrible.
Yeah.
100 million of their own people.
It's not taught.
They don't
just
even,
don't know.
They don't even know who these people really are. They're just
know.
like, oh, these guys wanted to give everybody.
That's why I want them to know about what is it? The free helicopter rides that
Yeah. Pinochet.
Yeah, Pinochet.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to look up to a dictator, there's a dictator. Let's start pushing Pinochet on
So
him.
the other day, I read a study came out of 63% of new immigrants, are on welfare,
Right.
are on some type of government subsidy, and then 70% of them that have been here 10 plus years are on a government subsidy.
Yeah.
So the left has been, the Democrats have been saying all this time. Oh no, they're not on. They come here, they work hard, and they give to the country. No, they don't.
No.
They're not.
Well,
They're all on. I mean, if you got 70% on some type of government subsidy, they're not.
I think what they do, and I know this is big because I've talked to some of my friends that are Hmong. You'll find that it's not that they sit around; they double dip. They do work. They work hella hard, and then they also, because they work under the table, they also double dip. And the big problem is with the South American, Central Americans is that doesn't stay in our economy. Because, like we said, they are family people. That money goes back home.
Yeah.
And these are all problems we've had cures for. In our lifetime, we didn't have the Viscero program because that was an Ike thing, right? Eisenhower?
Yeah, it was the 50s.
Yeah.
Mostly
Well,
50s.
and then was it going during World War II to get labor for the farms too? I'm not
Probably,
quite sure.
but I don't know for sure. But
it would make sense. It would make logical sense to have
So
import
Kennedy
labor.
ended that, right?
But
No,
Eisenhower.
Eisenhower.
Ended it.
Operation Wetback.
That's right. That was a real
Look
thing.
it up.
Yeah, that's a real
Operation
thing.
Wetback.
Operation
It's a real
Wetback.
thing.
Yeah.
And so when it ended, then and that was ended partly because you know why? It was because the local farm workers were upset. How's that? How many times have I hit that?
That's all right. More than I do.
Sorry, Matt. Sorry about hitting that again. That'll hurt your ears when you're editing.
One can only hope.
So the farm workers, the local farm workers were kind of upset, and that's what brought Cesar Chavez on. Was the fact that the local farmers, Cesar Chavez was against immigration. He was all against it. And
See, that's something that I didn't know. Brian, I think you told me that a couple of weeks ago, and like that he actually, there's like almost some atrocities that he was a part of,
Well, as my
making illegals disappear because
as my
we
grandma
didn't want new ones.
tells the story that she had to walk my uncles to the school bus with a shotgun
That's crazy.
because they were getting protested by Cesar Chavez's people and being threatened. So I mean that's what she says. I don't know how much of that is true, but I'm assuming my grandma doesn't usually,
Not a big
but I can
shiver.
see my grandma doing that. Totally walking down there with a shotgun and going like, "No, my kids are getting on the bus."
probably those that double barrel 410
Yeah.
she got when she had the twins.
That was a funny thing. I think my grandfather took that into the hospital and gave it to her.
as a gift.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You can't do that today.
How much, trying to get the show back on track, how much of impact did John F. Kennedy's assassination have on you guys?
Oh, that was big. Were you in the
Well,
service?
I was my first year in college, a freshman in college.
Where'd you go to college?
College of San Mateo.
Oh, okay.
I went there for 1 year, 1 semester, and decided that, nah, this is not for me. I want to go to work. I wanted to be an aircraft mechanic, and then when I found out what it's really like to work for an airline and stuff, and I didn't want to go just to take classes, so I went to work. But I'm walking up to the cafeteria, and a guy comes out of the English wing and he goes, "Hey, did you hear the president's been shot?" And so we're all going, "Oh, yeah, what's the punchline?" "No, the president's been shot."
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So I was done for the day. I remember driving home. It was raining, and listening to the radio, and remember everything about that day.
Yeah.
And it was that was a part of the beginning of the turnaround, I think, because here's this guy. One of the reasons he won and why he's so popular with young people, he was charismatic and bright and totally pro-American and Americana. And there's nothing we can't do. We're going to go to the moon, and it's just the picture of American optimism. Brian. Anyway, so
Father like son.
so that's what his popularity among young people, and so when he was done in, and then everything that followed it, it just
It got to be discouraging by
Yeah.
the time Robert Kennedy was shot. And let's see,
Yeah.
I can't remember who came first, Martin Luther King or Kennedy.
one of them they look
Yeah.
alike.
And even my
Oh, sorry, did I say that?
even from a political spectrum, actually, I had heard that Martin Luther King was a registered Republican.
It would make
I'd
sense.
heard that.
Yeah. At any rate, from my standpoint, I was only, it was 63, so I was 13, just before I got 13, and it was no, it was after I was 13. It was a very shocking moment. I was in 8th grade. I was sitting in a classroom, a history class, as a matter of fact, and another teacher comes across the grass, and our windows were out there, and knocks on the window, and the teacher opens the window and said, "The president's been shot." everybody's going home. We went home right after that. They sent us home,
Yeah.
and we watched everything on TV after that. And I remember watching Walter Cronkite. It said, "Newsflash, Dallas, such and such time."
Yeah. Some 28 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that would be a good one to put on here,
Yeah.
by the way. And then after that, what was even more shocking is we actually got a live shot of Oswald getting shot.
Yeah.
Right.
When he got shot.
Yeah, because we were all glued to the TV for a week, for the weekend or whatever it was, watching what was going on, and they were bringing him out, and bam, he gets shot.
Yeah.
To Dallas, Texas, and Tom Pettit.
There is the prisoner. There is Lee Oswald. He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot.
Now, my impression is pretty much the country came to it, much like 9/11.
Yeah, it was.
The country
Yeah.
kind of came to a standstill. a little
Yeah,
bit.
it did. And one something you won't see on TV much. There are a lot of people that cheered Kennedy getting shot. He was not that popular in Texas,
Yeah.
and your mother's grandparents were happy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they hated him. And,
I think-
I couldn't, as much as I hate
mainly
Barack
because he
Obama,
was Catholic.
I couldn't.
believe it or
I
not.
wouldn't have
Wow.
cheered. I wouldn't have cheered. As much as I hate that guy, I mean, it's just.
No,
it
he-
just seems to me like
You're a
it's
better
like.
person than me.
No, but you don't see that.
Yeah.
You see this, but America was not unified then either. We were all shocked by what had
Well, then
happened.
that goes back to where I was saying the McCarthyism. I think that's, to me, is that where this started?
But in those days, you lose an election, you lose. Okay, you get on with your life and you move on. We'll try it again in 4 years.
And I think the big,
You know?
again, we go back to the same thing again. It's not so much what happened as much as it is how easy it was for us to see it all day long, every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you keep hearing, and this was repeated a lot during the Bush funeral. It's like how bad politics is now, and how divisive it is. Let me remind you that our Secretary of State killed
Hamilton.
Hamilton.
And it
Aaron
do-
Burr killed Hamilton. Politics has always been a dirty thing, going all the way back to Caesar being stabbed by the Senate. Politics hasn't changed. People have not changed. Like you're saying, Chris, is that we get fed it 24 hours a day. And I said in the last week's episode, I just recently got in touch with some of my liberal friends, in which I don't have a lot of them. And we brought up Susie earlier in the show. That was my first girlfriend. She's a pussy hat wearing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And when we talk about the things that we have in common, I find it. I don't hate her. I disagree with her vehemently.
Yeah.
And she doesn't hate me for my views, I have lots of friends like that, and I think that we're being fed this hatred of each other, and politics is becoming too centralized. I mean, here we are. I love politics. Politics is my NFL. So beyond my skin in the game, it's just something I enjoy following.
Okay,
But I think they're saying we're more divided than we actually are.
what's the most? Let's ask about this since we're talking about the media and stuff now. What's the most inspirational thing you've seen from the media? One event or something like that.
Most inspirational?
Yeah. Well, one
From
thing
the
that you
media?
said, one thing that you saw that you thought, I'm so glad we were able to see this live.
the Mars landing,
9/11.
the last Mars landing.
Not that 9/11 was inspiring,
Well, it was.
but it was.
It moved you.
Oh, you're talking
It
about I see
actually.
what you're saying.
That's this generation. Well, not
I
this
thought you
generation.
meant like right now.
Not the millennials, but a little bit older will be their JFK moment is
Yeah.
9/11.
Yeah, 9/11.
Well, the problem is millennials. Okay, millennials. I guess some of the younger millennials don't. They don't even understand 9/11.
No.
No.
Our kids don't. Oh, Jake does. Jessica didn't. and Savannah didn't.
Savannah didn't. Yeah.
Until what was it, 2011, we sat them down and made them watch.
There was a show 102 minutes that was on.
There was one thing that I was happy we had the media was about, and that was A Miracle on Ice. That made this country. It moved this country up.
What year was that?
That was 80.
1980.
Up to
Reagan
then-
was still running. Was running at that point. We had maybe we had
We
the
were fighting
election.
the Russians.
We saw the moon landing in '69,
Yeah.
but all along it's negative. Nightly report, body bag, negative, and then here comes this hockey team.
Yep.
Bang!
It changed. It changed
USA
the view of the world in my mind.
USA chance, and it was okay.
Yeah.
It was good to love America and be happy. Yeah.
Those guys.
They're trying to push that down artificially now. But America is into USA chance now. I could point out a 17-year-old kid right now that works for himself, works his ass off, has Trump stickers on the back of his car, and flies an American flag because USA chance is the new counterculture. And the media, they're doing their best to try to squash it. But I can tell you, the one great thing going into, I mean, we're sitting here tired. Oh my God, we might have an American Civil War. I don't think that all is lost. I
don't think so
the kid
either.
didn't get there because of his dad. It's just the new counterculture is I am proud to be an American.
Yeah.
And the more that they push that it's wrong to be masculine in school and it's wrong to be patriotic in school, the cooler it is to be that. And you never underestimate the left being able to ruin their own thing.
They say Jessica's generation, which is the Y generation, I guess what they call them, or post-millennial, I don't know what the hell they call them, but they are the most conservative generation ever at the age that they're at. So they are more conservative. They're more supportive of the Second Amendment, which is kind of strange.
Yeah.
But so I mean that's something good to look forward to. I do see that. I mean, Jessica understands the Second Amendment.
There's a bright side, but here's a funny thing. All of us at some point at this table thought of ourselves as socially liberal people. That's just part of being young. What was it? Winston Churchill said, if you're under 20 and not a liberal, you have no heart. If you're over 20 and not a conservative, you have no brain. Eventually, there's a wisdom that comes with age. And that's why we have you guys here to show me and Brian just aren't curmudgeons. We're just not just two guys that out of the blue decided to become conservative. It's something that comes with failing. You fail enough times
And living life.
Life.
And actually watching part of your paycheck go.
Yeah.
And then standing in line behind people in the supermarket with a full basket that can't speak English, handing out the WIC coupons. Then it starts to harden your heart.
It starts. Well, there is a little bit of callous that we all need to get through life.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day how amazing it is that I watched that movie Alpha. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. It's about the first dog.
I haven't seen that yet. I've actually wanted to
It's
see
actually a
that.
pretty good movie. But we're all so caught up in our own time. Somebody really wants to get a hold of me.
I thought it was Brian.
I turned my phone off.
Me too.
Like we all get so caught up in
I
our
thought it
own
was a
time.
sexual device he had in his pocket.
This
Pocket
Dad
pussy.
knows.
you guys know now. You know where I get it from. I find it amazing that we all get so caught up in this short little time that we've had, but really we are what's left of those who have survived, all the way going back to when life was base. We're what's left of who used to hunt mastodons. The amount of potential that is in our DNA to overcome anything is amazing. And to me, it was sort of inspiring. It's like, I'm carrying on the it kind of made me feel bad for the way I'm living my life. So here I am living in comfort, and I said, dude, somebody back there about 50 generations ago had to survive winter with a spear and faced a mastodon, and I'm worried about going to work today. I think we have a bright future. I think it's written in us to survive and to get through hard times, and I don't know.
Yeah, getting through hard times. It's like you were talking about our history. And that's what one of the things we're mainly here about. If I look at it, our generation saw a rise of wonderful things with Kennedy. We thought, man, this is a great. We're very patriotic about it. He was killed. That was a terrible moment in our lives. Then, at the same time, Vietnam was starting to heat up, and we had the counterculture heating up, and then more killings, more assassinations. I lost me here. Well, okay, I got it back. More assassinations with Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy. Everything was in a turmoil at that point, and that was that way, in my mind at least, all the way through the 70s, except, we could do YMCA, right? Yeah. And that would take our minds off of it. But, we had Watergate that was national TV just every day.
Yeah.
And then finally Jimmy Carter came in and just did nothing. And it was like that moment when that Miracle on Ice happened to me was a change. Everything changed at that moment in terms of patriotism for the country. So that's why I said that's the biggest moment in my life.
Now I'm trying to think of something inspiring.
Like here's a ray of optimism. I guess I don't give up as being an optimist. I have some friends that are liberals, and the odd thing is, politics is about the divisions, and getting an edge and winning and all that. But if you really talk to people, and I've talked to a few liberal friends, there is a whole host of things that we agree on, and we share values. It's only on the edges, and maybe the way that we get to where we need to be is where the divisions are. So we're really not that far apart, I'm going to go see some next weekend. A couple of them are screaming lips, and we do not talk about politics in these meetings. But there's an awful lot that we do share: honesty, honor, and dealing in respect with others, respect for knowledge and history, and all kinds of stuff that we agree on, and we're really united. And so we're really not. I don't think we're really that divided. There's the nutcases, I think, that get accentuated on the news and TV and academia is a lost cause. I wouldn't recommend a kid going to college now for anything, unless they want to be a doctor, unless you want to be an engineer.
Yes, teach them to learn how to weld. They're going to make more money. They're going to be not in debt,
or the law, or something technical. But a lot of this stuff, it's just, geez, and you're going to go into debt for that? And you got nutcase politicians saying we need to help these kids with their student loans. Well, no, I almost said it. No,
I got the fart button. Ready.
Yeah, no, don't. But the optimistic part is, we're not that far apart as a country. We're really not. And you could go into, you mentioned Hmongs.
Yeah.
You can go into a lot of Latino communities and other communities, and you'll find people with the same values, value their family, hard work, personal responsibility. But the minute you put conservative or liberal on it, or D or R, oh man, all bets are off.
I gotta somewhat disagree.
Of course.
No, it's because
give me back my Christmas present.
I work with the general public every single day.
Yeah.
And I work with this age group of the 25 to 30-year-olds, and they're broken.
They are.
They are straight up broken. They don't understand life. They walk around in just a clouded daze. I'm serious. It's very, very frustrating to see these. And,
Yeah.
and I'm sure you guys have said that about we grew up, but we snapped out of it at some point.
I think they may have a longer road to hoe, for sure.
I don't know,
yeah.
dude. I think that millennial generation is a lost cause.
There's a group. There's
Not
a group,
all of them, but
some.
There's
yeah.
a
There's
big
a
majority of
segment
them
that pot fed,
Yeah.
huh?
that
That are not going to be redeemed.
right.
But I talked to two of my grandsons last night. Called me to, anyway. Both of them have a plan,
Yeah.
and they're not just working towards next weekend. I mean, they have a plan and they're working towards it, and they're getting the education that they need to get there, and they're going to do fine. They don't use dope either.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of.
Is one of those grandsons going with my granddaughter?
No,
No, he's talking about AJ and Kyle.
no, I'm talking about my good grandson. I mean,
Jake.
sorry, Jake.
Call
No,
Grandpa.
Jake. I just
Jake and Emily, I know you're subscribers here.
Jake
We
did not
love
call his grandfather on his birthday.
That's
did he?
that's not cool, Jake, because I sent you a text. Call your grandpa.
Jessica,
Yeah.
you didn't. Jessica never watched one of these shows. She sent me a text on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Thanks.
Not even a call.
Oh, God, I hate it.
By the way,
I know.
Al, are we getting overtime now?
I hope
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, I think we finished it sort of on an upbeat. I
Are
have
we
hope.
finished?
think
I
so.
thought of a special challenge
This
for
is
this
about
group.
a 2-hour show. This
Well,
is
you
going to be a
can break it up.
two-parter.
No, it's
all
not
right,
even
all
that
right.
long
I'll
because
make
of
it
the
quick.
breaks.
This would be a good, just fantasy fun. If you could have a superpower of any superpower, what would it be?
We already know
We'll
what
start
Matt
the other
says.
end of the table. Start with Chris.
Superpower, huh?
Matt could get any woman to do anything.
Dude, have you not looked at me? I could do that already.
Let's see, superpower.
Doing
huh?
that my whole life.
I would say I would want to be able to. Superpower. Huh? I'd want to be able to walk into any. Travel through time and space at
Time travel.
in maximum speed. In other words, I could do it. I could walk from here to Aries, whatever the star system up there.
Oh,
and I
you're
could
talking
be
about
there.
Space travel.
Yeah, I could be there in 5 minutes. And wouldn't have to go in a tube.
You want
I want
what?
a big room to travel in.
Snap your fingers.
Yeah,
and
I'm
you're
there.
there.
Just, it's cool. That's pretty creative.
I think mine would be to be able to fly, just like Superman does. But I'm not saying Superman's strength or anything. Just flying. That'd be cool.
That would be.
Open air flight.
You wouldn't need those choppers anymore.
If you would have asked me when I was a kid, it would be flight.
Yeah. Are you saying I'm a child still? Is that what that's, is that what you're
You have some
referring to?
childlike qualities.
Oh, okay.
This is pure selfish reasons. I think I would probably become one of the bad superheroes. It would be invisibility. Not for the obvious reasons.
Of just like walking.
No, I think I would.
It's so we can go in the girls'
Invisibility
locker room.
would be able to. I don't know. Maybe invisible. No. No. You know what? Now that I think about it, because there's a lot of advantages to be invisible, like stealing. But now that I think about it now, because I do believe in consequences, even if you are invisible, I guess it would have to be flight. Either that or the ability to just look at someone and make them drop dead.
So you want to be a scanner? Remember that old movie?
no, but I think you're right. Flight would be pretty cool. And plus, I mean, dude, your commute would be awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Flight is good. Mine's a little different, close to like you talk using your mind.
Yeah.
If I could have a superpower, I'd like to be able, through the power of my mind, look at a woman or a group of women and put them into orgasm.
Well, like I said,
Can you imagine a woman's march in Washington, D.C.? You're sitting there and you look at them and you're going,
Oh, Jesus.
That would be awesome.
Whoa. Well,
PTA meetings.
well, folks.
As everybody that's never met Matt's dad realizes now,
Now you know where I get it.
Where Matt gets everything.
Dad, do you know how to sign off the show?
I'm Mel.
I'm Chris.
I'm Brian.
And I'm your daddy. And I'm Matt.
And this
Is Shits and Giggles.
And we're doing this
for
just
shits,
first.
shits and,
And
giggles.
giggles.
Well, everybody's heard about the bird. Bird, bird, bird. The bird's a winner.